Okay, so when your big toe angles inwards, that's called a bunion, okay? And you get this little knobby bit at the side sticking out, okay? So it's not just a bump, it's a structural misalignment. When the big toe angles inward, it then means it's kind of locked. So basically for you to lift the big toe up, it just doesn't lift as much as it should do, which then means you lose the tension in your arch, okay? So the carryover it has to running and walking is basically, it's your biggest lever, it's your push off. So if this lever doesn't work correctly, it has to find stability somewhere further up the chain. So what generally normally happens is basically your arch collapses and your knee caves in. So this is what is called pronation. So unfortunately, it means you're not only just losing speed, but also your joints, every step, every run are just getting kind of worn down basically. And this can cause obviously quite a lot of problems. So the windlass mechanism is your spring, okay? So think of a bow and arrow. So basically the windlass mechanism is what happens when you pull the string back, okay? So everything tightens up. So it's the same as when you lift up your big toe. So if you see here, so if I lift up my big toe, it raises the arch slightly, but stiffens the arch up and creates that tension in the arch, okay? So what this does is it turns your foot from like a soft shock absorber into a rigid spring. So then what happens is if you can't get your big toe up because of a bunion or because it's just basically stiff, the bow then basically stays limp and it means that you're not springing off the ground, okay? You're just kind of thudding into the floor. And this is where, again, obviously you lose your speed and you lose your power when you're running. So here's the 3 foot drills I normally start off with clients. Obviously there's a few others as well, but these are normally three go-to ones, okay? Kind of basically get the brain to re-engage with your toes and get that kind of connection, okay? That neural pathway reconnected. So the first one is just basically toe dissociation. So what you're trying to essentially do here is just lift up the big toe independently of the other toes. I know it may sound simple, but trust me, it's quite challenging. So if you do struggle, what you need to do first is just hold the other toes down, just get the big toe and just lift it up, just go as high as it will go. Obviously, try and keep it in that straight line. Okay, so it's not angled inwards, it's in a straight line, and just do that to start off with. And then whilst holding your toes down, then you're going to try and lift the big toe up independently of the others. Okay, to progress that, take your hand away and just try and lift up the big toe independently of the other toes. Okay, so the next one is a little bit simpler. So all you're now trying to do basically is just to get that strength and the isometric strength back into the big toe, get it connected to the foot and the arch. It's just by pushing that big toe into the floor as kind of hard as you can, and you should start to build up and feel tension develop into your arch. You just have to make sure you do this without curling your toes, okay? So just push the big toe in as hard as you can, 5-10 seconds, and then just relax and then just do a few more. If you start to feel cramping in your arch, that can be quite common, just because obviously it's a bit weak and stuff, so just have a little rest. And just, again, make sure the big toe isn't obviously angled in. Straighten it out if you need to. Just put your finger in if you have to, but just make sure it's straight before you push the big toe down, okay? And then the third one is just get a band, place it around your big toes to straighten out your big toes, and then we're going to do calf raises, okay? So place it around the big toes, walk out. So basically, as you can see now, it's pulling my big toes back into its natural alignment, okay? So where it should be. And then from there, obviously hold onto something if you need to from balance. You're gonna push your big toes through the floor and do calf raises, lift up. Obviously that will strengthen up the arches, get tension in the arches, work the calves and work obviously the whole underneath of the foot. And again, key is just to make sure big toes are in a straight line, so walk out as far as you need to get them back into the alignment. Okay, so this is probably now one of the most important points, and this is unfortunately the wrong footwear basically does most of the damage, okay? So you've got to kind of look at the footwear you're wearing. So obviously running shoes these days are like ridiculously padded, like a mattress underneath them, okay? There's no movement there, so again, you're not allowing the big toe to lift up. You're not allowing any movement in the foot. It's just like a stiff block, okay, like a brick. So that isn't going to help. Plus the big thing these days is if you look at a lot of modern day shoes, there's a natural angled inwards where the big toe would be. So obviously if it was natural alignment, the big toe would be in a straight line there, whereas this shoe is going to start curving it in, okay? So any work you do to get the bunion and to gone and get the big toe back in alignment, if you just keep wearing these shoes, you're just going to keep being pulled back, okay? And it's a very narrow toe box, okay? So as you can see the difference here, you've got much wider, not going to squeeze your feet together. Obviously you've got a natural big toe alignment, okay, there where your big toe would be, so a nice straight line, and it's very flexible, so again that allows the foot to do its job and work through its range of motion. Look, so unfortunately fixing your movement isn't a quick fix. Obviously it takes time to undo the years of obviously rubbish shoes and movement pattern compensations, unfortunately. But if you're obviously tired of just keep being sidelined by these annoying little niggles that keep coming back and coming back, you've got to stop treating the symptoms and stop treating where the pain is and start treating basically the foundations. So your feet. This is exactly why I built my phase 1 strength program. It's what you basically need to do to strengthen up your whole of your body. So your feet, your knees, your hips in functional movement patterns, okay? Not sat in a machine isolating a muscle. So you can finally run with a lot more efficiency and not getting these little niggles and pains back. So the link to join the team is in the description of my channel bio. So if you grab it today, we can get started today. And so hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, just please hit the subscribe button for more movement breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next video.